Hello Sharks, this is video 8. We're going back to our three-man cup. We're going to talk about trapping with a cup, and we're going to talk about something the offense can do, which is called crashing a cup. So just to remind everyone what our cup looks like, where everybody is. We have our wing guarding this, our open wing guarding this area. We have our hammer wing guarding this area. Our center here is in the center. Our deep is deep, and our cup is following the disc. This is what our crash looks like. As you progress in the game, as you play more with the cup, you're going to notice that the stall counts are getting higher in the cup. We want that. We want the throwers to get pressured. We want them to make bad decisions. What smart players do is crash the cup. They'll run straight into the cup for a little point-blank throw. Just a short little handoff, just to reset the stall count. It's called a crash. There's almost no yardage gain. It's a difficult run. It's a short little pass. They're still in the cup. The field hasn't changed, but they've reset the stall count. So we don't want to let that happen, because we want to keep our stall count high. So the first part of a crash is the center yelling out that a crash is coming, and they're going to yell out what side the crash is coming from. So in this case, you might call crash center, you could call crash right. The center's yelling it out. Crash coming, and one of the members of our cups, not the marker, can pull in to cover that crash. Once the crash leaves, our defender needs to return to his spot in the cup. In Frisbee, there is a rule that says only one person can be within 10 feet of the handler guarding them, unless they are guarding another player. So, as you see here, we're within 10 feet of him, but because we're guarding this other player, that's okay. So as soon as that player leaves, we need to pull back out to our 10 feet and come back to our cup. That's how a crash works. So, when you're on offense, we might call for crashes when our stall count is getting high and we have no options, especially if you're near the front of the stack, run in for a crash. On defense, when you see them coming, call it out. If you're in the cup, you can step over a little bit to stop the crash, but remember that your first job is being that cup, is being in that wall. So remember to spring back as soon as the crash is gone. If the crash runs in behind the handler for a dump pass, let it happen. That's not your problem. If you pull back behind the handler, you're no longer being a good wall, and the handler is going to have an upline pass. So now let's talk about trapping with our cup, which is what we want to do with our cup. It's a very risky defensive maneuver, but it can be a very powerful defensive maneuver against unskilled handlers or in windy conditions. Those are the only times we're going to be using a cup anyway, so we may as well make the most out of it and use a trap. You'll notice our open side wing is staying up, and he's stopping primarily the upline throws. You notice that a swing going out to the handler's right, the defender's left, is almost wide open. So here comes our guy cutting in for a big swing out towards the line. Notice our open side wing is not even trying to stop it. We want them to throw to that sideline because we're going to trap them against it. So they throw the disc over, there's a swing over to this sideline. The sideline coach now, or one of the captains on the field, is going to call out trap. They're going to call for a trap. Our cup, who's already following the disc, now they're going to take up slightly different positions. Our marker is going to stand behind the new handler. They're marking behind them, they're taking away drops. We don't want them to get out of this trap, so we're going to take away every throw we possibly can. Here we have our second cup member taking away swings, our third cup member taking away the uplines, and our open wing is going to close in down on the sideline to take away sideline hucks. Remember, it's okay for a defender to stand out of bounds. Defenders are always inbounds. It's also okay for the handler to step 1 foot out of bounds so long as their pivot foot stays inbounds. So if you're in that position when you're guarding that upline, you may have to step out of bounds. That's okay. You're always in bounds if you're a defender. Our center and our hammer wing are going to move over to stop the hammers. Now, if the center wants to cut in short or if the center wants to stay put is going to be the center's decision based on where the hammer wing is, and he's going to call the hammer wing to fill in the other role. Here we see the center coming in to fill in the short and the hammer wing coming in to fill in the deeper. You can do it the other way. This is the traditional way we're going to do it, but it can be either way. It's the center's call. The deep now also knows that hucks, if they happen, are probably coming down the sideline, so he's going to move in on the sideline too. If you notice, we've created kind of a trapezoidal cup shape around the handler, and we've also created a larger trapezoidal cup shape around that side of the field. It's very, very difficult to get out of this trap. It's going to force handlers to make bad decisions and bad throws. We want to get that stall count up high. So if this happens, they're going to be looking for crashes. They're going to be trying to crash it. They're going to be trying to throw elevators and short little over-the-top passes. If they get very desperate, they're going to try and throw big hammers. That's what we want, because our hammer stopper, our center, and our deep are going to be able to pick those off. Now here's what a trap looks like on the other side of the field. So suppose they get a big hammer off all the way to the other sideline. Our whole formation is going to simply reverse. Our cup is running the furthest. They're running all the way across the field to set up their same position again. Our open wing also has to run all the way across the field. He may not do that. The center could call him off and the center could take that position. The open wing would then take the position with the center showed in. It's up to the center. The center is the boss. It's the same shape, it's just flipped over on the other side. Also, the important thing about traps is if they do get broken and they do get a throw back into the center, we need to immediately switch back to our cup. So as soon as that throw comes back to the center, we're immediately moving back into our traditional shape for our cup defense. Once we get very far down the line, we might switch back to man defense because zones break down as we get close to the end zone. Listen for your sideline coaches and for your captains calling for a man switch, a cup switch, or calling for a trap. Our next video, we're going to talk about the horizontal stack, and we're also going to talk about the split stack, which is one that I hope to be using. That's all for now. Stay tuned for the next videos.